ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परम्। ॐ गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। कार्पण्यदोषोपहत स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वामधर्मसम्मूढचेताः यच्छ्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्य तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम्। ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्म एधि वेदस्य म आनिस्तः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासिः अनेन अधीतेन अहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् अवतु वक्तारम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः तुष्टुवाग्वं सस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति न पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्ददातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ अहं वृक्षस्य रीरिव कीर्तिपृष्ठं गिरेरिव ऊर्ध्वपवित्रो वाजिनीव स्वमृतम् अस्मि द्रविणगं सवर्चसं सुमेधा अमृतोक्षितः इति त्रिशङ्कोरवेदानुवचनम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
Thank you for the Seva Bhagishri. Narayan, Narayan, Naina, Visa, Lakshi, and Prem. Kumar, we will talk about Akshay Tritiya at the end of the class, or would you like to start at the end? All right. Okay, so we have done up till Shloka 20 in the last class. So the chapter started
24.
with... Huh?
24.
Sorry. 21. We just did the Rajasic, the Sattvic and the Rajasic knowledge. We didn't cover the Tamasic knowledge.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
So the chapter started with a question from Arjun about what is really sannyas, and there were certain ideas put forward, and Bhagwanji took us through each of those, and he told us that there are certain types of abandonments that are absolutely not to be done, right? The actions must be performed. We can never give up three things: Gyan, Dan, Tap, and Yagya. These three can never be abandoned. So he explained that to us, and then when he was talking about sannyas itself, he explained to us that even sannyas itself is of three types. And for sattvic abandonment, he told us that the detached performance of duty, which is essentially the karma yoga form of doing your duty, is the very basis of the sattvic sannyas. And what is real sattvic sannyas? Real sattvic sannyas is essentially the sannyas from or abandonment of attachment to the end results of our actions. Then he explained to us that there are certain causes of actions themselves. There are 5 positive actions. Sorry, let me just open the door. I'll be back in a second. Sorry about that. Sorry. Sorry. There's no one else at home, so I have to just open the door. Okay. All right. So then we went on to understand the causes of action. He took us through a scientific journey of that if everyone always has to do action, right? Bhagwanji said that you can never not do action, right? Action must be done. Then the question was, okay, if we have to do actions, then there would always be an end result. That means we'll always be in bondage. And Bhagwanji said, actually, that's not true. There are ways to do certain actions where the seeds then become roasted seeds, which will never sprout. And we will be able to achieve moksha because of that. And from there, he said, okay, if you really want to understand this, now we've understood this part a lot of times. Now, Bhagwanji in this chapter is taking us through a deeper dive into what action really means and how it is, what are the causes of action in the first place, right? So there are 5 causes of action, which we had gone through. And out of those 5 causes of action, there is one cause. If we take that one cause out, that which is basically the kartapan, your sense of doership. If we take that particular factor out, then the seeds of the action are roasted seeds. They do not sprout into any kind of, they do not create any bondage. And we are now in that space where we are doing a deeper dive into the causes of action and you know and what are the originators of action. So we said, okay, causes of action, now we understand. What are the originators of action? Where does it start? It all starts the with the thought. A thinker thinks of doing something. So there is a knower, there is knowledge, and there is there's the knower, there's the knowledge, and there's an object of knowledge, right? And in case of sattvic knowledge, as we have understood, all these 3 things collapse into one. There is no way that a knower of knowledge can gain knowledge about the object of knowledge without becoming it. A limited person can never know what unlimitedness is unless you become unlimited, which is the very difference between the sattvic knowledge and the rajasic knowledge. In rajasic knowledge, or in knowledge about the material world, these 3 things always remain distinct. So the seed of action starts from the thinker thinking of doing something. And then whether that seed actually sprouts or not depends on the positive factors, the 5 positive factors that we had read earlier. Okay. Then Bhagwanji has put down those 3 causative factors are then kind of like pulled together into 3. Basically, he's talking about knowledge and he talks about the actual operation and the performer. So we had also understood how the knower, what is the difference between knower and performer, and under what conditions they collapse together, under what conditions they stay separate, or not stay separate as much as the performer actually goes away and only the knower remains. Then he goes on to say, now even these positive factors, because they are part of the material world, they are affected by the 3 gunas. The 3 gunas affect because they are the basis of the material world. So now he's doing a deeper dive into that aspect. And the first thing he took out of those positive factors was knowledge. So in the last class we had done, we understood what is sattvic knowledge and we understood what was rajasic knowledge. The sattvic knowledge is the one that once you acquire, you become that knowledge. It is the knowledge of the infinite. It is the knowledge which when we acquire, we become Bharat, one which has no, which jiska bharan poshan ho gaya hai. one who is complete and he has no abhav. So he is not seeking anything from outside to complete himself. Such a person, such a knowledge basically leads to what? Such a knowledge basically means that you are able to see unity in diversity. You're able to see the Krishna in every being. And so your bhav towards every VVGP, every person is going to be exactly the same, even though your vyavahar may be different. The way you act is going to be different based on desh, kal, parasthiti, relationship that you have with the person. However, your bhav will always be that of ki the Krishna inside of me is going down to the Krishna inside of you. And that is the bhav we bring to every action. We are only thinking about how can I be of service in any VVGP. This is the sattvic knowledge. This is how a person who has the sattvic knowledge will behave or will see the world. In case of Rajasic knowledge, however, the difference between sattvic and Rajasic in terms of actions, they both can be exactly the same. A person may be doing all the things that are being told in the scriptures. So all actions may be as spoken of in scriptures. However, if in the big difference is that in a Rajasic knowledge, there is there is a concept of plurality. There is a concept of duality. There is me and there is everybody else. I am different from others. I'm separate from others. And the moment that comes in, there is a concept of limitedness, because I by nature am limited. And so there is a sense of abhav. There is a sense of now I need to acquire something from outside. So there is an acquisitive nature that comes up, right? You have to constantly get something out. The intellect becomes a lot more selfish. And the actions are now motivated by a certain desire to fulfill yourself, because of that abhav that we come with. So even if they are, and there is constant space, we are constantly acting in the space of rag and dvesh. So this is what we had discussed until the last class, right? So while sattvic knowledge liberates, rajasic knowledge creates a bondage. At the action level, they may look exactly the same, but one binds us and the other liberates us. Okay. With that, let's go to shloka number 22, and we'll talk about the tamasic knowledge. Naina, do you want to read with us?
Yeah. The Lord now explains the tamasic form of knowledge.
Yattu kritsnavade kasmin.
Yattu kritsnavade kasmin.
Karye saktamahaitukam.
Karye saktamahaitukam.
Attatvathavadalpam cha.
Attatvathavadalpam cha.
Attatvathavadalpam cha.
Attatvarthavadalpam cha.
Tattamasamudahritam.
Tattamasamudahritam. That understanding which clings to the physical form totally, illogically, and is unfounded and inconsequential is said to be born of tamas. The tamasic understanding, frequently the awareness of a human being, sinks to levels much lower than those mentioned in the preceding two shlokas. In such a condition, it adheres only to the physical form, its relations with other forms, and the effects of worldly stimulations under the mistaken notion that this is all that matters. The word used is in the first line of the shloka for the physical form is karya, or the effect. In the chain of elements of nature mentioned in shloka 28 of chapter 3, each element is the effect of the preceding one and is itself the cause of the succeeding one. But physical form is the end product and is thus referred to as the karya or effect only. When awareness is totally clouded by ignorance, the human being's real existence as the self is completely shrouded, the physical form being regarded as the total existence. This understanding is illogical, inconsequential, and completely unfounded, like mistaking sand as water in a mirage. Therefore, in this shloka, the Lord has not used even the word knowledge for such an understanding, which is totally based on ignorance or delusion.
The last sentence is the most important one for us to understand, that this, while we are saying that there is a tamasic form of knowledge, it's actually not even knowledge. Bhagwanji doesn't even use the word knowledge here. He uses the word understanding to help us see what this form of understanding really means. So this is basically the YOLO form of living life, right? You live only once. There are no consequences. There is nothing for us to do. We are here. We were born. We are going to, we are going to consume whatever we want to consume. And after that, we are dead. And there is nothing else to life, right? When we are looking at, when we live life like this, basically, this is a very heavily or very dense body consciousness. Very, very dense body consciousness. And such a dense body consciousness, you would remember in chapter 1, we had talked about Dhritarashtra Chetana. Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra. One who wants to hold on to the Rashtra, one who wants to hold on to the material world. So Dhritarashtra Chetana, Dhritarashtra consciousness is a very, very dense body consciousness which cannot see anything beyond the body and the forms. So it thinks that only the form is the real thing. It is a heavily deluded form of consciousness. And there is basically, the intellect is not operational at all. So Dhritarashtra is always guided by Gandhari Buddhi. Gandhari Buddhi is an intellect जिसने अपनी आंखों पे पट्टी बांध ली है, who refuses to see what is the truth and is only giving in to whatever the mind and the senses ask for. So because the body consciousness, which is represented by Dhritarashtra, he's basically, that means is this person is only being stimulated by the worldly sensations, and the senses guide the mind, which then guide the intellect. So it's the opposite, absolutely opposite way of how things should work, right? And what do we in such a case use the intellect for? We use it for only justifying whatever it is that we want to do. So senses will do whatever they want to do, and Gandhari Buddhi is then going to justify it, right? कि एक लड्डू खाना है. I have diabetes. I know कि मेरे को लड्डू नहीं खाना चाहिए, but we will still eat that laddu, and my mind will justify it. My intellect will justify it by saying कि it's एक महीने में एक ही तो खा रहे हैं हम. That's one example of Gandhari Buddhi. We do that all the time. If we start to observe, there are a lot of times our mind is constantly in the space of Rag Dvesh. It's constantly saying, I like to do this. I want more of this. I don't like this. I don't want to do this. And then we justify it. Then we justify our likes and dislikes. We justify that we want to do, and this is the right thing to do. This is Gandhari Buddhi. And we are all guilty of it on a daily basis. If we become aware of it, like daily basis, we are justifying some or the other, chahe chota, chahe bada, but Gandhari Buddhi acts that way. And now, unlike Rajasic knowledge, in which case there is at least a sense of propriety of actions, even though there is selfishness, even though there is attachment to end results. You want something. You're working hard because you want a promotion. You're working hard because you want something out of this. You want people to acknowledge you, right? You have that, you want to do those things. But at least the actions are based on what scripture says the right thing to do. You will do dan, but then you want something out of it, right? In case of tamasic understanding, the actions, whether they are proper or not, there is no thought given to it. The only thought, there is actually no thought, right? Because the intellect is completely gone. So the driver's seat is basically mind and senses. Everything we do is from a space of likes and dislikes alone, right? So this is where we are actually acting like animals. But in case of animals, when they act based on these worldly stimulations, they accrue no pap. They accrue no punya either, because that's how they are wired. They have no faculty of choice. We, on the other hand, human beings have that faculty of choice. Because of that, when we are acting as animals and based only on our basal instincts, they're actually much, much worse off than animals, because we are choosing to identify with our lower self. We have consciously made that choice. Whether we are aware of that choice or not is a separate matter, but essentially we are constantly making that choice when we are in that space of um, when we are basing all our actions are based on likes and dislikes. So that is the tamasic understanding. Any questions here? So we'll go to the next. Yeah, Vijay.
There is some word called karya or the effect only. How does it work here?
So karya is, you would remember, we have purpose, then we have bhav, then we have action, and then we have object of action, right? And when we are not aware, our focus is always on the action itself, and then the result of the action, the object of the action. That object of action, which is basically the end product, is karya here. Okay. And so when we are acting out of tamasic understanding, there is no concept of purpose, there is no concept of bhav. Because uske liye you have to have a subtler and awakened intellect. A Gandhari Buddhi does not think about purpose or bhav. It only talks about, it is only acting at the body consciousness level. So it is only thinking about what is it that the mind wants to do? Where are the senses getting attracted to? And then I will just simply go after those things and I'll justify it. And then whatever results get accrued out of it, they get accrued out of it, right? So anything that is physical or gross in form is basically the end product, which basically has started from the thought. And thinker has thought of something. That is where the change happens. The change doesn't happen in the end product. That there's no point in working at that end product, which is the karya here. Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Sanchita, will you read with us?
Connection. After the description of the effects of three gunas of nature on knowledge, the Lord takes up their effects on the performance on or actual action. Describing first sattvic action, the Lord says,
Niyatam sangarahitam
Niyatam sangharahitam
raga dveshatah kritam
araga dveshata kritam
aphala prepsuna karma
afala prepsuna karma
yat tat satvikam uchyate.
yattat sattvikamukhyate. Prescribed action which is performed without solicitude, without the sense of liking or disliking, and without any craving for its result is said to be sattvic. Sattvic action. In this shloka, the Lord describes the three characteristics of the mental attitude which make the ensuing action sattvic. The action, prescribed action. The action must be a compulsory duty as prescribed by scriptures. Such duties have been ordained in various religious texts like the Upanishads, Mahabharata, the Ramayana, and the Puranas, separately for all stages of life and for all functional divisions. Determination of duties with reference to scriptures and ethos of the times would provide correct guidance for initiating an action. Action without solicitude and without the sense of liking or disliking. A Sankhya yogi is by nature free of the feeling of being a doer, and so the question of being solicitous of an action or liking or disliking it does not arise. In fact, for a Sankhya yogi, there is no prescribed duty at all. A karma yogi is, on the other hand, conscious of being the doer of an action, but is devoid of any egoistical conceit in the action. All such actions are performed as an agent or a servant of the Lord and are done with his power and for his pleasure only. A bhakti yogi only participates in the play of the Lord. In any of these cases, there is no solicitude for any action, nor is there any sense of liking or disliking it. Reaction without craving for the result. As discussed above, a Sankhya yogi, a Karma yogi, or a Bhakti yogi performs all actions without any craving of or expectations from their results. These three characteristics of initiation, performance, and consequence of an action therefore mark out the action as being sattvic.
So, for an action to be sattvic, we have to look at the three aspects: the start, or before the action is done, during the action, and after the action. If at every stage the action is being done by remembering that Bhagwanji is the one who has, first of all, given me an opportunity to do an action, right? So that at the purpose which comes before we start the action. What is the purpose for me doing this action? Is the purpose of doing an action, I'm doing this because it is an ordained duty. It is something that I must do as part of my duty, which is determined by Desh Kal Paristhiti, right? And it is determined by our ashram of life. And our duties change with each of those factors. So what is my duty today? What are the scriptures telling me? What is my duty? If I am doing that with that purpose, then an action becomes a seva. So that's at the starting. What is the purpose, the initiation, the purpose of the action? Then during the action, when you're doing an action, there is no sense of doership. The sense of kartapan. I am not doing this. I'm doing this as an agent of the Lord. I'm doing it for him with the resources all provided by him, energy which is provided by him. The motivation to do it is also provided by him. When I do an action with this perspective, then the action is a karma yogi's action. Okay. And then at the end, once the action has been done, the results themselves are given over to Bhagwanji as his prasad. And then whatever comes out of it is taken with a buddhi, with a prasad buddhi. That whatever comes out of this is Bhagwanji's prasad. Whether my buddhi thinks of it as favorable or unfavorable from a sansaric perspective is separate. But whatever happens, it is for my own best. It is for my ultimate welfare. When we take the results, when we partake of whatever results come like this, then the action that has been done, all these three aspects have been taken care of like that, then it becomes a sattvic action. Three parts to this, right? Let's go to the Rajasic action. We'll see the tiny difference between the two, right? Another piece which is very important is that because we are doing an action out of a sense of duty and duty alone, there is no place for likes and dislikes. There is no place for mind to come in and say कि मेरे को ये पसंद है, मुझे ये नहीं पसंद है, मुझे करना है, मुझे ये नहीं करना है. Even if it is a very, sattvic sounding action like maybe puja. ठीक है, अभी मेरे को बहुत ज्यादा फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई एम फीलिंग वेरी एजिटेटेड और मुझे पता है कि मुझे पूजा करने से शांति मिलती है और मैं जाके वहां पूजा करने के लिए बैठ जाऊं आज, बिकॉज आज मेरा मन कर रहा है पूजा करने का. देन इट इजंट माई इंटेलेक्ट ड्राइविंग माई माइंड एंड टेलिंग मी आज पूजा करनी है बिकॉज दिस इज द ड्यूटी दैट आई शुड डू टुवर्ड्स माई उद्धार. ठीक है, आई एम डूइंग इट टुडे बिकॉज आई फील लाइक डूइंग इट. कल मेरा मन नहीं करेगा बिकॉज आई एम नॉट फीलिंग एजिटेटेड, तो आई विल नॉट डू पूजा. So then even a very sattvic sounding action like puja could potentially not be a sattvic action because the purpose of doing it wasn't because I'm doing it out of sense of duty. I'm doing it because I want to do it or I don't want to do it. It is being based on likes or dislikes. And that is the piece that we'll now read in the next shloka, where we'll start to distinguish between the sattvic action and the rajasic action. Okay, Vijay, will you read with us?
The three characteristics of initiation, performance, and consequence of an action, therefore, mark out of the action being the Lord tells the characteristic of Rajasic action.
Yattu kamepsuna karma
Yatto kamepsuna karma
sahankarena va punaha
sahankarena va punaha
kriyate bahulayasam
kriyate bahulayasam
tadraja samudahritam
taddaraja samudahritam
tadraja samudahritam
taddaraja samudahritam
tadra
tadra
ja
ja
samudahritam.
samudahritam.
Nice.
Action undertaken for fulfillment of a desire with an egoistical feeling of initiating it and with great exertion is said to be Rajasic. Rajasic action, the three characteristics of Rajasic action are as follows. Desire motivated actions. Such actions form bulk of actions in the world. Great works undertaken by over-ambitious person for fulfillment of their never-ending desires are generally performed under great mental tension and strain. All the time, such person feels exhausted with anxiety and apprehension about the success or failure of action. 2. Actions with egoistical feeling. Such an action is impelled by arrogant and egoistical feeling in the performer about performing it. Despite insurmountable odds, performance of such action is constantly weighed down by expectation of self-centered gains. Actions with great exertion. Such actions are motivated by a strong desire for acclaim. If any action is undertaken in pursuance of duty, then all the effort necessary for efficient performance have to be put in. But in Rajasic action, most of the effort is devoted showing off and creation of an image.
So the Rajasic action, first of all, it is motivated, the purpose. The purpose is not duty. The purpose is I want some end goal that I'm working towards. There is a selfish interest in doing the action, right? So there is a desire motivated action. The second is that there is a sense of doership. You're not, in case of sattvic action, you're doing it as an agent of Bhagwanji. Bhagwanji is doing an action through you with the resources given by Bhagwanji. Whereas when you're doing a Rajasic action, there is a sense of kartapan. I am doing it. मैं नहीं हुई तो ये होएगा ही नहीं. Okay, there is that strong sense of doership. If you are not there, nothing will move in this world, right? So there is an egoistical feeling about doing something, which basically creates a lot of arrogance in the doer. If the results of the action are good, there causes arrogance. If the actions are not as per what they want, then it causes a lot of self-loathing or upset and all kinds of other negative, depressive feelings, right? The third is that all the actions, now, Ravan ने भी बहुत कुछ किया था, right? It's not that the Rajasic actions can be done without exertion. There is a lot of effort that is taken in to do any action, whether it's sattvic or Rajasic. The difference is that because in case of sattvic action, you're doing it as an agent of the Lord, you've basically opened yourself up to Bhagwanji. You've given up your sense of that chota as self. So now capital S self of Bhagwanji and his power is powering through the action. And when that is the case, your mind is completely at rest. There is no sense of ki kya hoga, kya nahi hoga. Jo hoga, achhe ke liye hi hoga. So there is a sense of ease when you're doing those actions. Whereas in case of a Rajasic action, there is no sense of ease because there is high attachment to an end result. You're doing it because you want a certain end result. So there is a lot of worry. There is a lot of tension. There's a lot of anxiety. Hoga, nahi hoga, mujhe milega, nahi milega. End result kya hoga? You're very much attached to a particular end outcome, which may or may not happen because it is not in your control. And because it's not in your control and you want to control it, there's a lot of anxiety that you will feel. There's a lot of physical fatigue. There's a lot of mental fatigue you will feel. There's no sense of ease when you're doing a Rajasic action. Okay. So that's another cheat sheet for us to know, right? If we think that we are doing Bhagwanji's action and we are doing it as a Karma Yogi, we should be at ease with that. But if you're feeling physically or mentally exhausted and if there's a fatigue, then the question to ask is, what is it that I'm attached to? Where am I attached? Where is the sense of doership coming in? Where have I closed off my connection with Bhagwanji? Okay. Kumar, would you like to add something here? मैं बोले जा रही हूँ तब से.
No, please continue, Tohina. Okay, so until she comes back, I think just maybe a couple of reflections. Maybe I'll leave it for the end. Maybe you have takeaways at the end. I'll just share some reflections then. Please go ahead.
Prem, will you leave with us?
Sure. The Lord now describes the characteristics of tamasic action.
Anubandham kshayam hinsam.
Anubandham shayam himsam.
Anavekshya cha paurusham.
Anaveksa cha porosham.
Mohadarabhyate karma.
Mohadarbhyate karma.
Yatta tamasamuchyate.
Yattatta tamasamuchyate.
Yatta
Yattat
tama
tama
samuchyate.
samuchyate.
Yeah.
Action undertaken under delusion without regard to consequences, loss, suffering to other creatures, and ability is said to be tamasic. Tamasic action. Such an action has the following two characteristics. 1. Action under delusion. Such an action is generally undertaken under an impulse or in a fit of anger or passion. It is without proper thinking and without considerations of propriety. 2. Action without regard to consequences, loss, suffering to other creatures and ability. While embarking on such an action, no heed is paid to its consequences or possible harm to the performer. Action on the impulse of the moment, the performer is not troubled at all by the suffering this action may cause to others. Also, the action is performed without giving any thought to the capability to perform. Assessment of the type of actions. The points given in Shlokas 23, 24, and 25 help in the assessment of the attitude in undertaking various actions. By carefully performing actions with the sattvic attitude, sattva guna is developed in the mental attitude, which leads to enlightenment and happiness. By engaging in rajasic actions, rajasic temperament gets developed, which leads to unhappiness and perplexities in life. The mind of such a person is never at peace. Tamasic actions increase tamas, which leads to sorrow, gloom, despondency, laziness, and listlessness. In fact, the converse is also true. Unhappiness and perplexity of the mind indicated that the mind is clouded by rajas gloom. Despondency and an indolent frame of mind is clearly indicated a tamasic attitude. In both cases, ascendancies of the sattvic attitude can be cultivated by the study of scriptures, asceticism and dedicated performance of duty, by invoking the grace of Lord through prayers, and by pursuing a yoga development. See commentary of Shloka 10, chapter 14.
Essentially, There are two reasons, there are two causes for tamasic actions. One is that it is based on a habit, right? We just do it habitually. जैसे ट्रिगर आया तो हमने habitually उसके ऊपर respond कर दिया. Respond भी नहीं किया, हमने उसके ऊपर act कर लिया, react कर लिया, right? We just react without thinking. There is no space between a stimulus and the reaction to it. There is no white space between the two. There is no thinking about, is this how, or is this the right way to behave or the right way to respond to such a stimulus. So there's constantly a reaction, right? Second is we do it on an impulse. There's a fit of anger, there's a fit of passion, and we act based on that passion. There is no control over the emotions, right? So there is a lack of control here. And that lack of control, when we say there's a lack of control, the lack of control is for whom? There's a lack of control of intellect over the mind and the senses, which means that mind and senses are in the driver's seat, and the likes and dislikes in the moment will determine what you would do with no regard to the consequences of the actions, with no regard to how others will be impacted, how you will be impacted. And it is done in that moment. And then a Gandhari Buddhi then comes in and then justifies it. मैंने ऐसा किया क्योंकि उसने मुझे ऐसा कहा. That person made me do it. We all have said these type of sentences in several different situations, right? That kind of a behavior, whenever we observe in ourselves, is basically a tamasic action that we have taken. It's a tamasic behavior, right? When we are giving up our sense of control to VVGP outside, is a tamasic, it only leads to tamasic actions. Every time we give the locus of control to any VVGP outside, it will lead to tamasic actions. Even Rajasic actions require a certain amount of thinking and planning and knowing whether it's the right thing to do or not right thing to do. Tamasic has no such thinking behind it because it is done on an impulse. Right? Now, Bhagwanji then tells us that when we do actions with a sattvic attitude, with a sattvic bhav, it will increase the preponderance of sattva in us. Similarly, whenever we do something with a rajasic bent of mind, with a rajasic bhav, it will create more rajas in our lives. And similarly, the tamas will increase if we do tamasic actions. And the reverse is also true. They are interlinked. So whenever, now that's the cheat sheet. See, feelings and emotions are very easy to observe than trying to understand what is causing it. We may not even be aware of how we think or what are the thoughts or what are the belief systems that we hold in ourselves that are causing us to behave in certain ways in certain situations. Because honestly, over 90% of our actions are driven by unconscious. Right? There is only literally less than 10% that we do consciously. So these subconscious behaviors are driven by certain thought patterns, certain belief patterns we hold deeply inside of us. Examining them, for us to get access to them, the access is through emotions and feelings. Can we observe those? So if you observe yourself and you see that mentally you're feeling fatigued, you're feeling anxiety, you're feeling fearful, you're feeling anger, actually anger, all of these, whatever negative emotion that you think about, right? End of the day, the root cause is fear. It's the fear that expresses itself differently, slightly differently, and makes us sometimes feel angry. It makes us feel inadequate. It makes us feel upset. It makes us feel full of anxiety. There are different forms of fears, right? So if we are feeling any of those feelings, then we are not in sattva. We are either in rajas. If there is a lot of anxiety and there is fear, there is preponderance of rajas inside of us. And if there is a lot of preponderance of, you're feeling lazy, if you're feeling gloomy, you're feeling, sense of despair, these are then this basically shows us that we are in a, there is this preponderance of tamas in our lives. So we can use our feelings to quickly check, take a quick pulse check as to where we are. And then say, okay, this is where I am. Now I need to increase sattva. And so then I have to do activities that are sattvic in nature, because they will then feed back and increase the sattva in me consciously. Okay. Yes, Vijay. Tell me.
Sorry, one quick question. So there is one thing that is catching listlessness. Why would it be specific call out here in Tamasic? While even for Sattvic, it has to be starting from the knowledge, right? Like we'll have to think through at a point to have that thought process. So, is there any specific reason that listlessness is called out here?
So are you confusing listlessness with not taking an action?
Listlessness is kind of like we will have to think through the process and break down the steps, right?
Listlessness is not same as taking a pause to think about what is the right way to behave or what are the right actions to take. Listlessness implies that there is a lot of torpor. There's a lot of, your mind is not working or it is foggy. And there is no desire to think or do anything. You are under tamas. Even when you know that this is not good for you, you are unable to break out of the listlessness to actually do or take the action that you're supposed to take. Listlessness is being the inactivity you see, physical inactivity you see, is not out of choice as much as it is being driven by the senses and the likes and dislikes. It is not your intellect saying, I don't want to act right now. I want to take a pause. I want to think, and then I want to assess what is the right way to act, and then I will take the next step. When we are actually taking those steps, we are in a space of satogun. Right? When we don't have the ability to take that pause and it is being driven because of likes and dislikes, I don't feel like getting up and working. I don't feel like doing this work. That is listlessness. I don't want to do anything. I can't do anything. I just want to lie down and watch Netflix. That is listlessness.
Okay.
Can you see the difference?
Yeah, because I was kind of like laziness and listlessness kind of like overlapping. So I was not kind of sure. See, because like even in Sattvic, we will have to plan and prepare. Your intellect have to tell what is the right way. Is it given in the scriptures, whether it is the right thing to do, all that kind of thought process. And it has to come from your intellect to start the overall process, right? So sometimes once you finish the current set of events, then only you are going to think through the next set. So that is where I was kind of thinking about the listlessness. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
Kumar, would you like to add something here?
Sure. Just offer something very simple. So there is, you're right, Vijay, there is an overlap between laziness and listlessness. Laziness is something to do with the intellect, where I just don't want to do it. I'm just lazy. Right? I'm not even thinking about right or wrong or whatever. I even know it's wrong, but I'm just lazy. My intellect is saying, forget it, let it be. Listlessness is when we say, mani nahi karta. There is a sense of propriety there, but you just feel a sense of fatigue, mental fatigue, no enthusiasm, no energy, no, this is the right thing to do, but you're so listless. You can see your duty in front of you. So it's the mind that says, today I just don't feel like doing this. That's listless. Laziness is every day I just don't do it only. I just keep procrastinating. I just don't do it. I don't even think of the propriety of it all. But there is a big overlap between the two.
Thank you.
Kumar, we typically take the class until about 11:40, 45, and then we go into the sometimes even to 11:50 before we take the takeaways. But if you want, we can stop a little bit earlier to be able to talk about Akshaya Tritiya. And if you would like to, add comments and
What time is it? It's 11:20 now, right?
yeah. Would
So
you
what
like
time do you finish class? 12, is it?
12?
Yeah, so go till another 15, 20 minutes, 11:40 or something. Then we can maybe do takeaways, reflections, and we talk about Akshaya Tritiya.
Okay. Visa Lakshmi, will you read with us?
Connection. The Lord next describes the effect of the three gunas of nature on the performer. Speaking of the sattvic performer, the Lord says,
Mukta sango naham vadi.
Mukta sangona namvadi
Dhrityutsaha samanvitaha.
Ritya sahata samnitaya
Dhrityut
Rityut
sahas.
sahas
Sorry. Dhrityut
Rityut
saha
saha
samanvitaha.
samannitaha
Siddhaya siddhayor nirvikaraha.
Siddhaya siddhayor nirvikranaha
Nirvikaraha.
Nirvikara
Karta satvika uchyate.
Karta satvika uchyate free of liking and or disliking an action evoked of egoism, endowed with fortitude and diligence and unaffected by success or failure. Such as a performer is said to be sattvic. Sattvic performer, as mentioned earlier, what was denoted by the word knower. In Shloka 18 has been called the performer. In the Shloka, so far as the actual operation is concerned. Thus, in this Shloka, the characteristics of sattvic performer may be regarded as being applicable to the knower also. The four characteristics of the sattvic performer are described below.
Okay, 1 second. Before we go on to the next one, just a quick recap of the difference between the knower and the performer. Right? Knower is the capital S self, and performer is the small s self, where I have a sense of doership. The ego comes into play and says, I am doing something. That is the performer. That is a distinguish. That's where we distinguish between the two. However, when we act, when we are in a satoguni state, there is no sense of doership, because such a person is thinking of himself only as an agent of the Lord. So there is no me doing an action. It is Bhagwanji doing an action through me. And so performer collapses into the knower. Or you can say there is no more performer here. There is only knower. So here when we are using the word knower or performer, in the case of the sattvic performer, we'll use them interchangeably. Right? Let's go.
Can you please explain one more time knower and performer?
So knower is capital S self. When the knower is the Bhagwanji inside of us, the Krishna consciousness, right? And performer is a small s self, the ego, the me, the kartapan, the doership, that I am doing something is performer. Okay. When we are doing Rajasic actions, knower is distinct from performer, because there is a sense of doership. But when we are in a Satoguni state, then the knower and the performer collapses, or we can say that the performer ceases to exist and only knower remains. So in this shloka, because we're talking about a satoguni performer. A satoguni performer, and that's why we will use the word performer and knower interchangeably.
That devoid of sense liking or disliking an action. The sattvic performer undertakes an action not just because of any personal liking, but because of it being a bounding duty. There is thus no sense of liking or disliking the action, both of egoism. The performer is free of sense of egoism or consent in performing the action. There is only a simple natural feeling of gratitude for being given an opportunity for performance of duty, fortitude or diligence. The performer evinces in firmness of purpose in doing the duty honestly and diligently. All obstacles are overcome with determination, giving no quarter to rejection in case of failure, and affected by success of or failure. The duty done, the performer is equipped in success or failure and is content with whatever the consequences are.
So when a performer is acting as a satoguni performer, right? When satogun is on the rise, then one such a performer. It's the third time this is ringing. Just give me one more. Sorry. Back. Okay. So the sattvic performer has no sense of liking or disliking because he's not doing it because he likes an action or he does not like an action. He's doing it because it is the right thing to do. It is his duty in that situation, right? And such a person, because he's doing it only as a duty, he's doing it as an agent of the Lord, he's doing it with the energy given by the Bhagwanji. Such a person is not thinking कि यार ये काम मुझे क्यों करना है या ये मेरे सामने क्यों आया है और हैविंग अ कंसीट कि मैं ही कर सकती हूँ सिर्फ इस काम को, क्योंकि अगर काम है वो भगवान जी का काम है, मैं नहीं तो कोई और करेगा. It will get done. If Bhagwan Ji wants something to get done in this world, he will get it done. If he's presenting an opportunity to me, then I will be grateful for having that opportunity, because that opportunity is nothing but a way for me to cleanse my own prarabdha. It is a path for me to my ultimate welfare. Bhagwan Ji is only given that thing to me for me to help myself in my own journey. That is how a sattvic performer will think. So there is no sense of egoism here. अरे वाह मेरे को ये काम मिला और मैं ही कर सकती हूँ, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. भगवान जी सब कर रहे हैं, आई एम जस्ट स्टैंडिंग देयर. ही इज द वन डूइंग एवरीथिंग. He has all the resources, he has given all the things and he is doing it. I am literally just standing there और मैं जो भी उसका रिजल्ट्स है वो मैं उसको बटोर रही हूँ खाली. Right? This is the attitude of the sattvic performer. Okay, he is no ego here. There's no kartapan. There's no doership. Okay, there's only feeling of gratefulness. Then, there was this in the last class or the last class also we had discussed this. There is enthusiasm. There's enthusiasm to do something, but that enthusiasm is not driven by any desires. It is not driven by any, any attachment to any particular end outcome. There is only but there's a lot of diligence. A Rajasic person will work very, very hard. A Rajasic performer will work very, very hard to get the results they want. A Sattvic person will work double hard. Very, very diligently, he'll perform all the actions that are required of him. If things are, if the VVGP turns very difficult, he will display a lot of fortitude. He will not go, why me? There's no sense of why me at all. There's only a lot of fortitude, a lot of patience, and I will do whatever it takes attitude for the Sattvic performer. So there's a lot of diligence and there's a lot of fortitude that you will see with a Sattvic performer. Yeah. The other good thing is because the Sattvic performer is not attached to any results, he's not doing anything with the sense of likes and dislikes. So dimag bahut hi, we just read that, right? That such a person will have a lot of sense of ease. There is no anxiety. So he's not fighting an inner battle with his own euphoria or his sense of anxiety constantly. All of that mental energy is freed up and it only goes towards performance of duty. So the actions become very, very efficient as well. Okay. And then again, he is very equipoised in success and failure. Success and failure, again, are very, very materialistic words. For such a person, there is no concept of success or failure. Uska success or failure is not the end result. Uska success or failure is, did I perform this action, this duty in a way that would please Bhagwan Ji? If I did, and I did it in a way that I was constantly in a space of gratitude and gratefulness, and I did it only for Bhagwan Ji, for his happiness alone, तो अगर वो खुश है तो मैं खुश हूँ. His will is my will. I don't have any separate will from his will. Right? So such a person is unaffected by the end outcome. Kuch bhi ho, it doesn't matter. Yes, Bhagyashree.
Yeah. So about the last shloka, sorry, when you talked about Rajasic attitude, you said that there is a fear behind Rajasic attitude. So to get rid of fear, isn't the thing which we can do is surrender to God, and Sattvic action is without the sense of doership. So if I'm doing Rajasic actions, I have fear and I want to move towards Sattvic action, which is giving up the sense of doership. What's the difference? Is it the same thing where I surrender and giving up the sense of doership? Are these two things the same?
Yes. So when you surrender, what do you surrender? You surrender your sense of ego to Bhagwan Ji. अगर आपके अंदर fear है, anxiety है, that means you are operating from a sense of limited sense of self. That means your ego is operational, right? Which is what is creating the sense of abhav, the sense of limitedness, the sense of like, I have only this much and I have only this much energy, these many resources. How will something else get done? Will I do it? Will I get it? Not get it? Will someone else get it? Because there's a sense of plurality, there's duality, there is a sense of I am this person with these, this is I, me, this is the circle of I, me and myself, what I own. And the rest doesn't belong to me. और वो कहाँ से the beach of this is the sense of ego. And that sense of ego is what creates a sense of doership. So giving up the sense of doership is nothing but surrendering our ego to Bhagwan Ji, to surrendering to Bhagwan Ji completely. Our will is surrender to Bhagwan Ji.
As in, like, I am doing this action, I don't care about the result. Whatever the result is, God will take care of the result. So that is surrender, right? And this is same as giving up the doership.
So I don't care about the result can be sattvic or can be tamasic. It can be tamasic जब you do it out of a space of कि यार अब जो होगा देखा जाएगा. I don't care. तो I don't care वाला attitude जो है ना वो बहुत ही tamasic attitude है. Because when you say I don't care, then it immediately has an effect on your mental state of being and the action you bring to the table. आपके actions बिल्कुल खत्म हो जाएंगे उसमें. You say when you don't care, you will not do the action that is required, the duty that is required of you. है ना? But if you are taking on a sattvic attitude, you will still say, I don't care about the result, not in as many not in this language, but you will say, जो भी होगा अच्छा ही होगा. जो होगा, जो result आएगा. There are multiple results that can happen. You remember those 5 positive factors we did, right? And all those, the 4 other positive factors other than the sense of doership, उसमें किसी में भी थोड़ा सा difference हुआ, right? Effort, आपकी destiny, आपने पुराने आपके संचित कर्म क्या हैं, और आपके VVGP में कुछ भी difference हुआ, those other 4 positive factors can create a lot of difference in the end result. So when you say you don't say I don't care. You care a lot about the actions you do to make sure that the actions are being done very reverently and with a lot of deliberation to make sure that Bhagwanji is happy with it. So it isn't I don't care. It is as much as जो होगा वो भगवान जी अच्छा ही करेंगे मेरे लिए, which is what creates a sense of ease.
Yeah.
And there is no sense of fear. क्योंकि फिर डर किस चीज का ना? If Bhagwan ji is your parent, when a child is with their parent and parent is taking care of everything else, so फिर बच्चे का दिमाग बिल्कुल free होता है ना, because he is not responsible for anything. There's no responsibility. कर्तापन में बहुत responsibility है, बहुत responsibility है. मुझे करना है, मुझी से होगा सब कुछ. That responsibility is completely taken care of. जैसे बच्चा अगर साथ में है और माँ बाप सारा काम कर रहे हैं, तो उस बच्चे को कोई sense of responsibility नहीं है. उसको जो काम दिया जाएगा वो जाके कर देगा. 50 और चीजें भगवान जी उसके पेरेंट्स कर रहे हैं यहाँ वहां, उसके बाद जो रिजल्ट होगा मुझे क्या फर्क पड़ता है? माय पेरेंट्स आर टेकिंग केयर ऑफ मी, है ना? कैन यू सी द डिफरेंस, द एटीट्यूड ऑफ दैट एडल्ट व्हेन ही इज टेकिंग केयर ऑफ अ सिचुएशन वर्सेस अ चाइल्ड हु नोज कि मेरे माँ बाप सब कुछ संभाल रहे हैं. उन दोनों के बीच में सेंस ऑफ रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, सेंस ऑफ एंजाइटी, कैन यू इमेजिन द सेंस ऑफ ईज दैट दिस चाइल्ड विल हैव? सो वी हैव टू बी लाइक दैट चाइल्ड, एंड दैट इज द सरेंडर.
But is that the same thing as giving up the sense of doership?
बिल्कुल.
Okay.
This is giving up the sense of doership, which is same as giving up your will to the will of Bhagwan ji. I don't have a will. I'm not saying कि यही होना चाहिए, यही end result होना चाहिए. वो मेरी will है. ये ऐसा ही होना चाहिए. वो मेरी will है. भगवान जी की will जो होगी सब मेरे लिए अच्छी होगी. जब मैं अपनी उस will को उसमें subsume कर देती हूँ ना, and I don't have hut कि ये होना चाहिए, then there is a sense of ease. क्योंकि 20 results can happen and all those 20 results are for my ultimate welfare. It's my job to just see it as such. Prasad buddhi. Make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Kumar, would you like to add anything?
Just a practical consideration to Bhagyashree's question about doership. ये कहने को बहुत अच्छा लगता है कि doership नहीं होनी चाहिए. But we are all very far from it. When we do something, we are feeling a sense of doership, right? तो क्या करें? Can we just be in total denial कि I am not the doer when I am feeling a sense of doership? I feel I am this body. I feel the body's relationships. You've had a child recently, Bhagyashree. You have a sense of expanded self to your husband, your child, your in-laws, your parents. It is very difficult to just practically operate from a place of no doership. So क्या करें? So the hack to it is you be the secondary doer. Mukhya karta, primary doer, make God the primary doer in your life. Be his assistant doer. So he takes charge. He tells you what is right and wrong. He tells you what to do, what not to do, and you do it. Then you don't worry about is there a sense of doership or not a sense of doership. वो बहुत दूर की बात है कि no sense of doership will be there. So at least there will not be a sense of like I मैंने सारा किया, भगवान ने कराया, मैंने भगवान की सेवा की. And I think that's another important thing that there's so many mentions of duty in the English Gita that by the time 18th chapter has come, we rattle off like parrots, duty, 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 duty. But actually, think about it, doesn't duty have a very dry connotation to it? एक बच्चे को आप बोलो कि चलो, you know what, you stop playing your video games, go and do your homework. How does a child feel? Do you think they're happy about it? The child may be very studious and say ये मेरी duty है, उनको पता है, लेकिन are they happy about it? Not at all. So duty has a sense of it being a chore, bore है यार. So how do you make duty something that Bhagavan wants us to apply the right bhav? Duty को आप replace करो सेवा से. Seva. Because seva requires two people. एक सेवक, a servant, and a master. Duty is I'm doing my duty just because I've been given my duty. There's no two people there. It's only me. Now how I do it with the right bhav, whether as a chore, as a sense of propriety or whatever, doesn't matter. It's just me alone. But if I add a second, the mukhya karta, the master, I am the secondary karta, the doer, but a small doer. The servant. Servant is a doer, no. In a servant-master relationship, you cannot say servant don't have a sense of doership. Ultimately, जब हमने गीता 2, 3, 4 बार पढ़ी है, हमने सालों साल प्रैक्टिस की है, then maybe it will start to loosen up the sense of doership. अभी doership है, मान के चलिए. लेकिन secondary doer, primary doer आप नहीं हो. Primary doer भगवान को बनाओ, सेवक बनाओ. So this child, when they are doing this chore or duty so-called that the parent has asked them to do, what is the bhav that they have versus the duty that is given to them, a task given to them by the parent, and the child is saying, मुझे ना ये ऐसे करना है कि मम्मी बहुत मतलब मेरे से खुश हो, डैडी बहुत प्रसन्न हो ये करने से. They are very very delighted with me doing it, so they do it well, they do it properly, they do it nicely. Why? Nothing else. उनको प्रशंसा चाहिए, उनको praise चाहिए, उनको एक they want a pat on the back by the parent. So the same thing applies here, that if we are the servant doing the seva of the master who is Bhagavanji, nobody else. If you are working in a company, my CEO is not my master. He just happens to be in this Leela, a colleague that I am serving, supporting as part of the company. But I'm not working for him. You cannot say that to your CEO, but you will say that in your sadhana. I'm only working for one CEO, which is Bhagavan. वो मेरे master है. So I can tell you from my own experience, this in the first few years and many years of doing the Gita brings a sense of limited doership. It increases the bhav of seva towards an action, brings an element of love in that action, and a hack, a tool that you can apply on a daily basis to do this is introduce the pad Kar pranam tere charanon mein in your daily prayers. I don't know, so Tuina, if that's been introduced in the class yet?
We don't do bhajans in the class.
Okay, no problem. What you could do is, maybe at the right time introduce the pad Kar pranam, because that is Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga 101. Because उसमें ये सब every line is कर प्रणाम तेरे चरणों में, लगता हूं अब तेरे काम, मास्टर सर्वेंट, पालन करने को आज्ञा तव, आपकी आज्ञा पालन करने के लिए मैं नियुक्त होता हूं आज. I am now connecting with you. So sattvic versus rajasic also. Sattvic action is connected action. Rajasic action is disconnected action. Simple as that. If you are connected with Bhagavan ji, आपने सुबह को ये पद गाया, आपने अपने प्रेस किए, आपने नाम जाप करते करते ये कार्य शुरू किया, that means it's a sattvic action. Of course, with the right purpose, with the right intention. But if you are doing the same action without connecting with God first, you are operating like an energizer bunny with limited energy and power and capacity that will get exhausted very soon. And that exhaustion will show not just physically, but mentally. And then mental exhaustion will also lead to mental fatigue, anxiety, stress, etc., etc., etc. तो वो है राजसिक एक्शन का फल. But sattvic action, you're like enthusiastic, you're just chilling, you're enjoying yourself. The amount of work done by a rajasic person and a sattvic person may be the same. In fact, it's a practical thing that a rajasic person will end up doing more action उसको उनको बस करना 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 है. They fill the space with action. Whether it's necessary or not, वो सोचते नहीं है. Because they feel that they are in control. That brings anxiety. That brings stress. You will find that half the things they do, they don't need to do. So anyway, I'm just trying to connect a few things here in terms of what has been said, but hopefully it answers your question, Bhagishri, about doership. Practically doership, जाने नहीं वाली.
Yeah.
This is Arjun in chapter 18. Are we Arjuns of chapter 18? Not yet.
No.
तो टाइम लगेगा. लेकिन एक दिन आएगा, एक दिन हम जरूर पहुंचेंगे where we have a sense of complete connectedness, very limited doership, more of a sakshi bhav that will come with practice, with abhyas, with a few rounds of the Gita, but most importantly, application of Gita in our day-to-day life. ऐसे नहीं कि गीता अलग, life अलग. Life has to be integrated with Gita. It may be that we are not able to apply the principle or whatever, but it cannot be that this is not practical in the world. It cannot be that. Gita was true 5,000 years ago. It is true today. It will be true 5,000 years in the future also. It is our ability or lack of in terms of applying its principles in our life. Starting with doership. Where we are, if we are in grade 3, तो grade 3 का doership क्या है कि भैया मैं मुख्य कर्ता नहीं हूँ. But grade 12 में आप आओगे, तो then the sense of doership will be looked at it from a different perspective. So right now we are in grade 3. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kumar. So we'll stop the class now. I wanted to actually introduce Kumar to everyone at the start of the class. लेकिन जब my class start हुई तो we were only 2 or 3 of us. So we dived directly into the class. And so I would like to now properly introduce everyone to Kumar. A lot of you have not directly known him before, but everything that we have ever said, or the fact that this class is happening, it is all all the energy that comes from him, from Shalini Didi, from Maiya ji, and from Babaji and Babuji. So my Gita journey started with Kumar. वो हमारे facilitator थे. मुझे almost रोना आ रहा है इस पर. Sorry.
आपकी और
You need to take over.
आपकी और वेदांत की भी.
True.
Yes.
So I think this class is really blessed to have Kumar in the class today. Kumar, you'll have to take over.
No, thank you, Tuhina, and thank you everyone for having me, allowing me to join your satsang. And it is, like Tuhina said, indeed a blessing. We have, ये हमारे कर्म है, पुण्य है, that has given us this Gita class. It's in the times we live in today, where we see so many things happening and the mind gets lost and confused. It is so important for each one of us to have an anchor in the higher consciousness, anchor to make sense of what is happening, and most importantly, an anchor to protect ourselves and our own minds, right? Because trying to make sense of everything is a very futile exercise. भगवान की लीला चल रही है, हम बोलने के भगवान आप एक एक चीज समझाओ हमें, ये क्यों हुआ, वो क्यों हुआ, यहाँ पे अटैक क्यों, यहाँ वो क्यों हुआ. It is going to be something that we will get lost in narratives and perspectives and all of that. So all of that in its own time, fine, but we have to protect our own minds. And so I think we are so lucky and blessed that the Gita has come in our lives whenever it has, to really be an anchor for us. And it helped me a lot. It has helped Tuhina, Abhinav a lot. It has helped all of you, I'm sure, whenever you join. And it also extends to our families, whoever joins the Gita, ideally directly as part of a satsang, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your family member, whether it's your child. There are thankfully now, after so many decades, there are Gita classes probably for every age. For every age. And it's a question of just ichha, intention, and then we can, partake of this real anchoring. And, it just makes the journey so joyful, irrespective of whatever else is happening. Because Gita's promise is not कि आपकी सब परेशानियां or difficulties and challenges will go away. That's not the promise of the Gita. The promise of the Gita is joy regardless of the circumstances, regardless of the challenges and the difficulties. And it is a very practical thing. And I have so many experiences. Tuina knows some of them, Tuina Navinav. Kavita, who used to be in the same satsang as us as well, she knows um, that there have been so many circumstances, situations in each one of our lives, that Gita has, and only Gita has helped us conquer and overcome. And conquering and overcoming is nothing but conquering and overcoming your own mind. वही है बस. जिसने अपना मन जीत लिया वो उसने विश्व जीत लिया. That's what it is. And that is such an empowering and liberating thought, isn't it? Because when we try to fix other things outside, even within our own relationships, our families, or whatever, it seems like such an arduous task. But when you're looking at fixing your own mind and just correcting your own energies, it puts you in the right place, in the right anchoring, in the right frame of mind, and B, the vibrations then comes into your family and immediate circle also. So it is the best thing you can do in terms of seva for your own family, seva for your community, for your society, for your country, for the whole world. When you change your vibrations and you increase your satvikta, we talked about satvik karma, satvik karta, beautiful shlokas. And every shloka is beautiful, all 700. But in the context of what's happening in our world, in the context of what Tuina shared so beautifully today in class, I think it is not enough for us to do the Shravan in the class alone. Because Shravan mein the intellect is the trainer. In here, the satsang is training the trainer. But then after the satsang is over, the trainer has to now train the mind. Because when you're in a satsang, and it happens to the best of us, right? The mind may be there for like 50%, 60%, but somewhere it'll go here, it'll go there. It'll be like, okay, what is there for lunch today? Okay, what do I have to do in the evening? Oh, these people are coming home. There are different things. So it means that a second exercise has to be done after the satsang for the process to be complete. Shravan has been done. The trainer has been done, but the trainer has now to train the servant. Who is the servant? The mind. Who is acting like the boss all the time. We have to put the mind in its place and train the mind in terms of how to protect itself, how to not just become a slave of thoughts. The thoughts is not us. There's consciousness and there's thoughts. Two different things. Consciousness is who we are. Thoughts is what our mind is made up of based on our vasanas. And that's what we have to diminish, ultimately eliminate. But now, let's not try to eliminate anything. Let's just make them sattvic. Let's only act on, and there will be tamasic thoughts, there will be bad thoughts, there will be negative thoughts, hurtful thoughts. Let them come, let them go. You don't have to follow it. You don't have to be a slave to it. That's the free will. So a lot of great points in today's satsang, Tuina. So thank you for that. Very, very articulately explained, and great questions as well, from some of you. And yeah, I'm hoping to continuing to be part of this journey with you. Exciting chapter 18. You know how it is, Tuina. It's like a homecoming as we come close to the end of the Gita at the end of the round. So exciting.
Thank you, Kumar. We'll do a quick round of takeaways. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. For me today, I thought this was very eye-opening, as I'm also very new to the class. I found a lot of my thoughts and actions is definitely on the Rajasic, and I really liked the thought that came today that, make God the primary doer. And, I'm definitely going to try and put that as my thought process and try to put that in my actions in my daily life, and, try to move towards the sattvic, because, it's very easy to fall into the trap, because we are in a very result-oriented world and everything is result-based. So we're always chasing. So if we surrender and put it at God's feet, I feel that kind of brings you a little bit more peace and tranquility. So I'm really going to try hard for that. Thank you.
I can go next. For me, it was similar to what Prem had said, as well as the word duty and chores that we use, and how it was said by Kumarji about shifting it to seva. That I connected with as well. And I think now I want to try to implement that this week and ensure that, I take it as a seva rather than using it as a duty, and also the fighting of, because for me as well, Rajasic and Tamasic is quite there in my life. So I want to pray to God that Satvik stays in the driver's seat and it takes control. So it fights the Rajasic and Tamasic in me, and this is something that I'm doing.
I can go next. Thank you for this class, Tuhila. I mean, everything that you were saying now, it just was coming across as just slapping me left, right, center. Because there's so much of doership in what I keep, especially at work. This whole thing about me and my team and I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it's just I have a long way to go into, I'm nowhere even close. I don't think it's there. So yeah, a lot of sadhana, a lot of jap, and that's I think a huge practice point for me.
I'll go next. So a lot of us have already echoed. This become like more like a prescription also, right? Like as in when there is an unhappiness or perplexity or fatigue or tension that is there, what space I'm working in, or if there is a laziness or gloominess that is there, or a sorrow in any of the action that I'm planning to do, where I am, which part I am, what action I'm trying to do. So it is coming out very clear, and how to take it to the next level, right? Like to sattvic action, like to start the day with the prayer, with the bhav, the right bhav is what is going to help us move up consistently. So this is more, I think, direct and prescriptive way of how to do the actions. That's the key takeaway for me.
Use the
Thank
word
you.
descriptive, Vijay. It isn't prescriptive, but I think emotions, I would just use this as a feelings, not even emotions. I think that's the wrong word. Feelings are a great cheat sheet for us, like a portal inside of our subconscious. Um, and the for me, it is a very it's a like rule of thumb. If I'm feeling at ease and I'm constantly in a space of peace and happiness while I'm working, a lot of enthusiasm, but not exuberance, right? Enthusiasm with a sense of peace and happiness, then I know that Satogun is in the driver's seat for me. But the moment that goes away and there is a sense of any kind of, like some sense of unease, which can be, that means you're not equipoised anymore. I'm not equipoised. And that's the time to take pause before you take a launch into your next action, and then do what you need to bring yourself back in the Satogun, whether it is Nam Jap, whether it is Hanuman Chalisa, whether it is reading, some specific Gita shlok, or you have to find your own thing. But it isn't prescriptive as much as I would say feelings are a portal into your subconscious, like going into your basement to see what's going on here.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Tina. Sorry, I didn't find the right word in English to match it, frankly, right? So that's the thing. But yeah, it's emotion, yeah. So how we feel, how we take it forward. Again, and a lot of takeaway from Kumar Bhaiya also. Thank you so much.
I'll go with the next. Thank you, Kumar Bhaiya. It's really eye-opener. Like how Bhaiya said, the primary doer is the God. Maybe we can take it as a secondary doer. It's very helpful because I can help. I can tell to my daughter also because she's more result oriented and keep on telling her, don't don't think about your result. Do your best. But that age, she's a teenager, so she's not able to take it that concept. She's also learning Gita, but still she's growing, right? So maybe this is the right point to tell and help her also. But my if I do meditation in the morning, the whole day, right? By itself, I am not taking. I am the doer. But if I'm not doing any day meditation, that day I can feel the energy difference. As much as possible, 90% I try to do meditation in the morning. That whole day it will be completely, I can feel that difference. Somehow some of the days, some of the work, you do the meditation the later in the whole day, but I can feel the difference. The doer is coming again. When you do meditation, the doer is not. I felt that way. I try to do the meditation in the morning nowadays. So thank you so much, Bhaiya. My takeaway is the knower and performer. The knower with the sattvic way is the surrendered to the God, and the primary doer is the God, and we try to do the secondary doer in all the each and every actions. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
I can go next. So when we talked about Gandhari intellect, the intellect where we think that, this is what I want to do and this is the right thing to do. So there are many instances where I strongly feel that this is the right thing to do. But when I get that thought, I'm going to pause next time and think that, is this really the right thing to do? Because this is what I feel is the right thing to do. But is it connected with God? Is it sattvic action or is it rajasic action? Not just rajasic. Sometimes it's like tamasic action also, where I'm acting out of anger, reacting habitually, losing control over my mind, and then I think about it later. I regret about it later that I lost my control. Then yeah, so it's still ongoing. So I need to do it like act before, pause and pause and think whether, like, what's the right thing to do here. Yeah, and again, about the doership, it was very simple explanation. I'll try to think about it that way, that I am God's servant and he is the master in every action I do. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. It's me now. So, for me, the whole thought of invoking God in the morning, in before the start of the day, and saying that whatever I do would be for you, would probably change the problems which I am facing right now. Because as the day progresses, I feel that I have not achieved what all I should be achieving. Maybe laziness and like things. Maybe procrastination sets in. So probably starting off the day with that thought would help me set my intentions into action. And also, of course, doership, like ego and conceit, and even probably the feeling that I am responsible for so many things would probably go away once I start this practice of saying that I'm the assistant of God and I'm going to do all my tasks with the and look forward to his approval in everything. Probably that should set things in a better pace. Thank you so much, Kumarji, for these thoughts.
Thank you so much. Kumar, would you like to talk about Akshaya Tritiya?
Yeah, sure. I can do that briefly. I know it's over time. So Akshaya Tritiya, it's a twice a year in the Gita Parivar, and as part of the parampara, and the practice that is followed by all of the Gita classes everywhere. Not just this one, but everywhere across the world. Twice a year, the whole Gita is chanted by the entire satsang, and it's usually a relay format, right? And this is the first one in the year is around April, May, which is happening on Wednesday, 30th of May. And this is for Akshaya Tritiya. And there is an email. I don't know if the message has been shared to Ina, but you can share, exactly what Akshay Tritiya really denotes, what happened on that day as per our scriptures. And, it's a very special day in the year and a way to be able to give back, contribute. See, we are a part of a parampara. This is a satsang which is anchored in the parampara. And it's very important. Anchoring in the parampara is important, because otherwise what can happen is satsang becomes a very isolated island which is not connected with the parampara. Just as we talked about, Rajasic action is disconnected action, whereas Satvik is you've connected it, right? You connected with the source in the beginning of the day. During the day you're doing Nam Jap, so you're always connected. So you're not operating on a limited battery capacity. You're connected with electricity. Parampara is electricity. So satsang is the object. It's the device that we have to access the parampara through the satsang. And there are practices in the satsang that connect us with ourselves, fill us with the positivity, with the divinity, and to allow us to do what we have to do in our lives, whether that's seva, whether that's living joyfully, whether that's overcoming difficulties, etc., etc. So little things over the year are introduced in the satsang, which we all should enthusiastically be and try our best to be part of. The satsang, the parampara does not require anything. We don't pay any fees. We are having the comfort of doing this in our own homes. Thank you for technology. I think that was one of the unintended but positive outcomes from COVID, that we're able to do classes now anywhere in the world thanks to Zoom. So what does the parampara want from us? It wants our attention. It wants us to follow the guidelines as set by our gurus that power this parampara. It is for us to make sure that whatever the facilitators are introducing to us, we are curious about learning more. We are interested in participating in all of this. And that is what we can do to contribute. Because otherwise we are just takers. And we are already taking enough from life. From the time we are born, we are taking in air, we are taking in nourishment, we are taking in everything more than what we give back. So this is a small way that we are from a parampara and satsang that is giving us so much, from the Gita that is giving us so much. What are we able to do in our own humble way to give God, Gita and Gurus and the parampara? And that is through the Akshay Tritiya, and Gita Jayanti is usually in November, December, October, November, where the entire Gita is chanted and everybody in the satsang takes turns in chanting it in terms of a part of it, and it's a relay. So since this group is of this size, you can take 30-minute slots. The one person starts doing the invocation shlokas. This is, I don't know if you're doing it on Zoom, Tuina, it's probably on your own time.
It's on our own time, and it's a relay for a 30-minute slot, because people will be doing it in their own times and then passing the baton on the WhatsApp group.
Fine. So the WhatsApp group is where you need to keep monitoring. So the first person in the roster will start for the first 30 minutes. They will do invocation shlokas. They will then start with chapter 1, shloka 1, and at your own best pace. Don't worry about the speed or pace or whatever. Some may be fast chanters, some may be slow chanters. It's okay. Do your 30-minute slot. And as soon as you set the alarm for 30 minutes, you finish 30 minutes, go to the WhatsApp group and mention the slok till where you read. And the next person in the relay will then take over from the next shloka onwards, and so on and so forth. And you finish the entire chapter, the entire Gita. The last person finishing chapter 18 will also do the closing shlokas.
And the Gita Aarti.
Yeah, and the Gita Aarti. So you may or may not want to, if this is the first time, Tuina, for your group, you may or may not want to include the Gita Dhyanam and Mahatmya, but I'll leave that to you.
We've done this before. We do it every time on the Gita Jayanti also. But typically the start and the end were done by either me or Abhinav. So we would do the Dhyanam and the Mahatmya.
You can introduce the Dhyanam and the Mahatmya also. The first person and the last person can do that. And if, let's say, you finish chapter 18 before the time is up, and there's some people are still left, right? Because maybe some people chanted fast, etc. Then you can do another loop of chapters 3, 9, 12 and 15. Those 4 chapters. Because very anchor chapters in the Gita, 3, 9, 12 and 15. And then you finish at the normal time, and you finish every chapter, then weight is, Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat, so that's what it is. And you can provide the more details on the group itself, but I think that's the purpose of it, the context and the bhav with which we should come and approach it. Any questions anyone has? All groups are doing this. So some groups are, doing 2 rounds or 3 rounds because they are bigger groups. So there are more people and they're shorter time slots, 15 minutes instead of 30 minutes. But in your group, 30-minute time slot is fine. So add on the 30th, and pick a time that works for you and be part of it.
Yeah, so should I chant alongside GitaChanting.net? In that case, the chanting will be faster, or should I do it by myself?
Ideally, do it yourself. But
Okay.
if you would like to do it with that, of course, you will be doing it on your own time. It's not on Zoom. There's no question of mute or anything. You're doing it in your own personal time, personal space. You can do it with that if that helps. But get into a practice where you're able to chant by yourself, because your own chanting, the vibrations you will feel, and it'll come back to you and go out in your environment as well. So it's actually a good personal practice to be able to chant yourself. But if it is your first time, you can do it with GitaChanting.net, no problem. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions, Tuina? If there are from the group, let me know. But I think you can provide the rest of the details. You want to do closing now?
Yes. Bhagyashree, do you want to do the closing?
Yeah. ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु, सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु, सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु, सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. ॐ पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. ॐ